What's up, you guys? Welcome back. Today I'm super excited because we're gonna be doing a little bit of a different kind of video. I don't think I've ever done one of these before, but I'm basically gonna be breaking down my top 10 tips or like game changers for me in my makeup routine that have really significantly changed the way that I do my makeup and the way that my makeup looks. It's basically gonna be like the top 10 things I do now paired with the top 10 things to like avoid, like what not to do and then how to properly do it from what I have learned. And this is all speaking from experience and trial and error because all of these things that I'm gonna say to not do, I have done. Like for years, okay? Sometimes I look back at old photos of like my makeup and I'm like, why didn't somebody say something? And I'm sure like in 10 years from now, I'll probably be saying the same thing. Obviously makeup's always changing, trends are always changing. Our skin, the way we like our makeup to look, everything is always going to change. So if you do any of these things that I say to like not do, don't worry, because trust me, I did them too. Because I feel like the way that I do my makeup now is very different from the way that I used to do my makeup. So I'm really, really excited about this. And I feel like this would be a great video if you're a beginner, but also if you're like super skilled and just want to learn like more about makeup and chat together today. So I'm very excited. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel if you have not already and click the little bell right next to the subscribe button so you can be notified of all my future uploads. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, we are gonna get started with our base and tip number one. Now there's kind of gonna be like twofold tips in this. Number one is to always use a primer. AUP, say it with me, always use a primer. I have absolutely gone through phases in the past, specifically if I was like in a rush or something in the morning where I would just skip primer entirely and go straight in with a foundation because it's like primer can be a product that maybe immediately you don't see a difference with it because it's not like a colored product. It's not an eyeshadow that you can immediately see the color of or a lipstick. But primer is working on the back end to keep your foundation and your base looking good all day long. And it's really not a product that should be skipped. It makes a significant difference in how your makeup's gonna last throughout the day. And also in a lot of them, you will immediately see it makes a difference in how the foundation applies to the skin. So that is like the first like half of the step. Now the other half of the step is now that we know, okay, we need a primer, we need to understand primer and what primers work best for our skin and for what foundation that we're going to be using. Because so often I get people that tell me like, oh no, whenever I use a primer, my makeup pills or my makeup starts to separate on my skin. And then when I don't use a primer, it doesn't do that. And that's because you're not using the right primer with the right foundation. So I'm gonna go in right now with a primer. This is the Black Tourmaline Primer from Colleen Rothschild. I love this stuff. It is black, but once you blend it onto your skin, it blends into your skin. So don't worry about that. This is like a super smoothing, blurring, hydrating face primer. And it is a water-based face primer, which for me, I have dry skin. I also have very sensitive skin. So I always tend to go for water-based primers. And the way you can figure out whether your primer is a water-based or the other most typical one would be silicone-based is just look at the ingredients. If within the first couple ingredients there is water, it is likely a water-based primer. Now, we all know if we're taking oil and water and we're mixing together, they're not gonna mix. They just kind of go against each other and they don't fully mix with one another. So the same thing goes with primer and foundation. So if you're using a water-based primer, you wanna make sure you're using a water-based foundation, not a oil or silicone-based foundation, because that's when you're gonna get that separation and it's not gonna look as seamless on the skin. And the same thing goes with using a silicone-based primer. You don't wanna be using a water-based foundation with that. So almost all of my favorite foundations are water-based. So you wanna make sure you're understanding that you're using the right primer for the right foundation so that they can work together instead of kind of working against each other. So like I said, I really, really love this primer. I wanna thank Colleen Rothschild for partnering with me on this section of today's video, but I can link it right down below. Not only does it really smooth, blur, and hydrate my skin, but also really helps to make my foundation adhere to my skin. It does have a grippy texture to it, but not to the point where it feels like sticky on your face, because I hate that feeling, but really gonna help to grip your foundation to the skin, keep it wearing well throughout the day. It also definitely helps if you have enlarged pores or texture like myself to really smooth that over. And it will help to mattify the complexion a bit too, because I know some people with oily skin might be like, ooh, I don't know if I would like a water-based primer. No, just because it's water-based doesn't mean that it's not good for oily skin. It does have charcoal powder in it, which will help to mattify the skin, but it's not gonna dry you out. It also has cordata flower, which helps to lock in moisture, and black truffle, which is great to condition and even the skin tone. So I really, really love this. They have a lot of really great skincare too. So like I said, I will link to their site down below as well as the specific primer. So really understanding what type of primer would be best for you and your skin type, and then what type of primer is going to work best with what type of foundation is going to make a world of a difference. Because I cannot tell you how many times I used a silicone-based primer with a water-based foundation and was not understanding like, why is this not working? You know, I was just thinking, oh, the primer doesn't work, or oh, the foundation doesn't work. No, they're just not working together, you know? Both parts gotta marry each other and work together. So, like I said, I will link this down below. Now I'm gonna go in with a water-based foundation. And on this side of my face, I'm going to go in with a foundation that I have matched to my neck. Now, this is the next tip, and it shocks me how many people still don't do this, and I didn't do it for a long time too. As you can see, the foundation as I'm applying it doesn't really look like it matches my face, but it does match my neck. We want everything to look cohesive because obviously once we have the foundation on, we're not really gonna be seeing the color of our actual face. Many people, their face can be lighter than the rest of their body, especially if you're like me, you're using an SPF every single day on your face, where I do not use an SPF every single day on my body if I'm not like outside, which I probably should. But I do always use it on my face, coupled with the fact that I typically don't self-tan my face. I'm always using like retinol and other products on my face, so my face is typically always a lot lighter. So on this side, like I said, I'm using a foundation that matches seamlessly to my neck. We want it to all look cohesive, although it may look like it doesn't match my face at all, obviously because my face is lighter. Now I'm gonna show you the difference. I'm gonna go in on this side with a foundation that matches my face, but does not match my neck. And you will see that it doesn't look right. It might look more right when I'm applying it on, just onto my face because it's the same color. But then you can see to the neck, it's not cohesive. It doesn't look right. The face is lighter than my neck is. So you wanna make sure that you're matching your foundation to your neck and like chest area and not to your actual face, so everything can match and look cohesive. Okay, I'm gonna jump in with a little concealer before we carry on. I don't really have any hacks or tips when it comes to this. I'm just gonna add a little bit before we get to our next one. All right, I believe you're on hack number 3 now. Now this one is understanding blush placement for your face and that it's not just one size fits all. I feel like growing up, I always felt like blush, okay, apples of the cheeks, and would apply it right to the apples of my cheeks like this. So I'm gonna go in and blend that out. And while it's not necessarily wrong to apply your blush to the apples of your cheeks, for my face shape, since I have a round face shape, applying blush to the apples of my cheeks is just going to make my face appear rounder, which is not personally what I want to do. So now that I have a better understanding of my face shape, what I like to do is apply my blush a little bit further back, like there, and then go in and blend it backwards first. And I'm still going to bring a little bit onto the apples of my cheeks because I still do want to have the flush of my cheeks there, but I'm not going to concentrate the product there like I was doing on the other side. I'm gonna like gently feather it in to the apples of my cheeks so I get a little bit of that flush, but it's not a super big concentration of product. And on my face shape, it looks a lot more flattering that way. You can look up like charts and stuff on Google depending on your face shape. If you have like oval, heart shaped, round like myself, where the best blush placement for you would be. That's going to flatter your face the most, but don't just think that you have to just put it on the apples of your cheeks because that's like traditionally where blush would go, because it might not be the most flattering way to do it for your face. All right, up next, let's talk powder. Now, my skin is on the drier side, so I have never been like a huge powder person, but I recognize the importance of powder even now in this huge glowy skin trend, which I absolutely love. I love the face glow, and I do not think that you need to use powder all over your face to set your makeup, especially if you're using, like I said, a good primer that pairs well with a great foundation. It's gonna help and adhere to your skin throughout the day, and you don't have to set your entire face with a powder if you don't want to. But one place that I will always set with powder, no matter how glowy or dewy of a look I wanna do, is my under eyes. It makes such a significant difference. I'm gonna show you guys side to side. So I'm gonna set this side with some powder. You don't have to use a lot. You don't have to bake or anything like that, but go in and set that area with some powder, and it instantly helps to blur and smooth that area out. And in my opinion, looks so much more flattering when that area has some powder. You can leave the rest of your face nice and dewy and glowy. But since our under eyes tend to have tiny little wrinkles no matter how young or old we are, and the cheeks is typically where we'll see the most enlarged pores, at least on myself, it definitely is. Having a little powder in that area just to smooth everything over and set that area extra makes such a big difference in the way that my face looks, I personally think, and looks a lot more seamless, but we can still have that glowy look because we don't have to set the entire face with powder. Alrighty, up next, we are going to move on to brows. My brows are one thing that I am so proud of. I feel like I have really like mastered them and gotten them to a place where I really like the way that they look now. But for so long, I struggled and struggled and struggled with my brows. They just look like blocks on my face, and this is why. All right, let me actually zoom you guys in a little bit. I feel like you're a little too far to see my brows. All right, there we go. Now, I'm gonna do my brows on this side how I used to do them. So what I would do is I would outline the bottom of them like this, but then I would also go and outline the top of them like that and basically draw them into a box to begin with. and then I would just go in and kind of fill them in. And this is pretty much what they would end up looking like very boxy, looks like I just like stamped them on there, and yeah, just not super cute. So what I do now is you still wanna do an outline, you still wanna have a baseline to work off of, but I only outline the bottom of my brow. So I'll go in gently, give myself a baseline to follow on the bottom of my brow. Then I always like to go in with the spoolie and run it through so that there's no like super harsh lines on the brow. And then I'll go in with a clear brow gel and run that through them. This is also gonna help to kind of blend that baseline and also get my brows kind of in order how I like them. And then I will go in and feather in little brow strokes upwards that mimic my natural brow hair. And it looks a lot more natural and less block-like this side does. All right, I believe we are moving on to tip number 6. Now this is still one that I still do sometimes out of habit, and I'm like, no, this has to do with eyeshadow. I would say when it comes to makeup, my biggest weak point, like as just a makeup enthusiast, makeup lover, is eyeshadow. I definitely know that that's where I struggle the most. I'm like, you know, decent at eyeshadow, but it's definitely not my strong suit, and I know that. But one thing that has really helped me with my blending is that when you go in with eyeshadow, instead of initially going in and just doing these windshield wiper motions, like we're kind of taught to do, which this is going to blend your eyeshadow, it's gonna look fine. And just like going back and forth for like 5 minutes if you're like me, and keeping blending. What you actually wanna do is go in with the product on your brush and press it into the areas that you want to apply the product. So I'm just tapping it and pressing it in. Do that first to disperse the product onto the eye and pack the color in where you want it to be. Then go in and blend. And this is going to give you a much more seamless blend, and it's also gonna be more pigmented exactly where you want it to be, instead of just like kind of blown out everywhere all over your eye. And you won't have to blend for as long this way, and it'll look a lot more seamless and neat when doing it like this. If you can see side to side, I feel like this side looks a lot cleaner than this side does. Again, both ways will work, but doing it that way where I press the product in and then go in and buff and blend, I feel like has made a really big difference and does make it easier for me to blend out things, and it ends up looking cleaner in the end. So I do like that little tip. All right, next one is number 7, and this is making sure to, above all else, always curl your lashes. I cannot tell you how long I went. I wanna say up until like the past maybe 2 years, I rarely ever curled my lashes. I was always buying like curling mascaras or lengthening, lifting mascaras, whatever it is, but I wasn't taking that extra step to actually go in with a lash curler and curl my lashes, because I always felt like, oh, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. I'm just gonna get this curling mascara, it'll do the same thing. No, it actually will not. So I'm gonna show you on this side. Obviously they are not curled. I'm just gonna go in. This is my favorite mascara of all time. Like, I know it's a good mascara, okay? It's the Milani Anti-Gravity. I'm going in on my lashes with this, coating them good. And like, I would sit there and do like 3-4 coats of mascara. Again, it would not take the time to curl my lashes. And this is what it would look like. Like, no, we can do so much better. So take the 5 extra seconds, because honestly, you'll spend less time doing your mascara if you actually curl your lashes and pick them up. So go in and curl them, then go in with mascara. You will probably need like half the amount of coats that you're used to using. And look at this difference. This is literally 1 coat of mascara, where this one I did like 2 or 3. And look at how much better this eye looks, just because I went in and actually curled my lashes. So would highly recommend not skipping that like I used to do. Okay, up next, this next one might be a little bit of a controversial one, but hear me out. Now, I love false lashes. I always will. No matter how much I can grow my natural lashes or whatever, I'll always love false lashes. They're beautiful. They help to amplify the look. I love them. What I've noticed in photos and stuff of me from the past is that I would, because I loved them so much, I would use like these crazy long, thick lashes, and it really was just thinking that it was just gonna look beautiful, like, oh my gosh, she has these crazy, beautiful lashes, when in reality, it was really just overpowering my eyes. So I think it's really finding that balance of a false lash that complements your eyes instead of overpowers your eyes, which for me, took me a long time to figure out. So I'm gonna go in with a lash style that I would use all the time, like a few years back, and show you what it looks like on my eyes so you can understand what I mean by something that overpowering versus something complementing. So here is a typical lash that I would wear on my eyes. Like, I could have a whole animal, like spider or something on my eyes right now. I can literally, like when I look up, all I see is the lash. But I wore lashes like this all the time, if not ones that were actually like literally even longer. And listen, this again is all about personal preference. If this is the way that you like your lashes, then more power to you. That is the way that you like, and that's the way that you should apply them and the type of lashes that you should use. Makeup is completely subjective. There is no right or wrong way. But for myself, really finding lashes that I feel complement my eyes more instead of overpower them with these really large lashes has really made a difference in the way that my eyes look, and I really like it. So right now, typically what I do is I'll use half lashes or little individual lashes to really just amp up my natural lashes a little bit and add a little more flare to my eyes without overpowering them. I also sometimes do use full strip lashes, but I'll use something a little more like wispy and light, like maybe like a set like this or something that's lighter on the eyes. But this is an example of a lash now that I would wear that just helps to kind of complement my eyes as opposed to just totally overpower them. So again, this one is definitely personal preference, but for me, finding lash styles that I feel complement my eyes instead of just overpower them has made a big difference, and I personally feel looks better on my face and my eye shape, and it's just more flattering. Okay, now this next one is one that I learned way too late, and that is how to actually overline your lips so that they don't look super crazy. So what I used to do is I would just go in with a liner and, completely basically overline my lips. So overlining them all the way around like that, which in the end is gonna look pretty unnatural. Best way to do it is you can overline your cupid's bow, which is right here, and then overline the center of the bottom of the lip down here. So basically just the center part of the lip, overline that. But then when you go on the sides of your lip, you do wanna follow your natural lip line, and it's gonna look a lot more natural that way, as opposed to just overlining the entire lip, which is just gonna make it look like your lip is just coming out of the bounds basically, where this will give you a more natural but plumper effect to your lips if that's what you're looking for. You can definitely see it better once we have like the whole lip on, so we're getting to that. But for the last little tip, glossy lips are super in, as is glowy skin and everything like that, but just because you have a glossy lip on does not mean that you need to sacrifice longevity of your lip color, because typically gloss, even if you have the best gloss, it's not gonna last you through like multiple drinks, meals, talking, like all that kind of stuff. It's gonna wear off. But what I've been loving doing is going in with a matte lipstick or a liquid lipstick, putting that down on my lips as a base color. So I'm using a nude color, but whatever color you want. Let it completely dry on your lips. That's gonna be your base. So that's gonna last all day, especially if you're using something that's like matte or long lasting. And then you can go in with a gloss and top it over. So you get that glossy look, but you don't have to sacrifice basically having no color on your lips after like an hour or so, where if you just went in with like a lip gloss, chances are it's gonna wear off pretty quickly, and then underneath is just gonna be your natural lip. You're not gonna have any color left. So I love pairing a matte liquid lipstick, whatever it is, with a gloss to get that glossy look, but also get that long lasting color, which I personally love doing. So that's my last little tip. And that is everything, you guys. So you can see this is a pretty real, if you have watched my YouTube channel for a long time, honestly, this is a pretty real representation of what my makeup looked like. Maybe a little worse, but I definitely did my makeup relatively similar to this for quite some time, where now this is much more how I do my makeup, just little tips and tricks that I have learned along the way, and I personally do prefer the way this side looks. Again, like I said, if you do any of these things, I did all of them, so don't even worry about it. And also, there is no right or wrong way to do your makeup. This is just what has worked for me personally. Everybody's face is different, everybody's preferences are different, so do your makeup however makes you happy. That's the best part about makeup. It comes off at the end of the night, so it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? But I hope this video was helpful to you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!